As you might have heard, the BRICS group just got a little bit bigger. Now, this original political and economic organization started with just Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Then they added South Africa. Then just recently, the team announced there would be 6 new members joining as of January 2024. Those being Argentina, Ethiopia, Egypt, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Iran. Of course, it's possible this organization continues to grow since there's been several nations that have applied for membership. Right now, currently, including with the new countries that just joined, they have 46% of the Earth's population. Also now 43% of the oil production because Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the UAE. And finally 25% of exported goods, a lot of that coming from China though. As always, we have to mention BRICS is not a current military alliance, I know that, but what if it was one day? What if it increased to that level? How well would they be able to compete with someone as giant as NATO? That's what we're gonna find out today. Again, we're gonna have to suspend our disbelief. I know this is not gonna be accurate, but this is just for simulation purposes. I just went to all countries and forced them to either join the Operation United States or basically NATO or the Treaty of China, basically BRICS. And this is currently what the world map is looking like. These nations will not be able to leave this team. They will, however, be able to get new members, and I'm sure that's going to happen a lot here. I actually don't know if these teams are going to avoid fighting until they eat up everything else, or if they're just like immediately going to just jump on into it, just start slugging it out. It's going to be real interesting because Russia currently has the most land on Earth, who's a part of the Treaty of China, but then Canada and the US are in NATO. Here's China, who's obviously in the Treaty of China, and they have Brazil. So I don't really know what to expect. I have a feeling that the world is going to definitely be gearing up for this World War III that's about to take place. I'm going to be watching the alliance map mode very closely. Oh, okay, so we already actually have movement out of NATO. Everyone's attacking Austria to force them to join NATO. That's probably what they're going to have to do. This is not looking good for Switzerland then. So let's watch as they get completely collapsed in on. Yeah, so definitely the teams are going to grow in size. Or maybe not. How is Austria holding their own right now? They're being surrounded. In fact, Austria conquered both Slovenia and Slovakia. They might actually join BRICS. That would be pretty funny. So there seems to be already kind of a non-aligned movement with Thailand and Vietnam. They're not deciding to join either side. And there goes Czechia. Again, Austria is single-handedly bringing down NATO right now. Austria can be blamed for the first 2 world wars. Maybe they're going to be blamed for the third as well. Might as well keep up with that tradition. There's a separate non-aligned movement happening in South America, which interestingly, South America is really controlled by BRICS. Meanwhile, obviously NATO controls North America. A couple of nations in Africa as well. Obviously, because we have alliances this huge, there is almost virtually no limit to how big you can let your team get. You can get like 20 friends if you want. Wow, somehow Austria pieced out and they still survived. They did lose a lot of their land, but it's amazing they're still here. We have Turkmenistan and Kyrgyzstan getting together. Also, Myanmar and Laos are fighting it out. Interesting Caribbean friendship between the Dominican Republic and the Bahamas. Meanwhile, Jamaica is moving in after Cuba. I should note the DR are not in BRICS, although it looks like it with that similar red color. Also, Chad was just instantly eaten. Spain just added Morocco to the group. I don't know how they did that. And also, NATO is moving in after the former Yugoslavian states because of course they are. They're going to try to take out Serbia, and they did. Iraq just joined with Jordan in a little team. Meanwhile, BRICS is actually not attacking anybody right now. It's really just them, everyone like cleaning up NATO, or NATO's cleaning up Europe, I guess is a better way to put it. Yeah, so no one is looking like they're going to join BRICS or NATO. They're just kind of forming their own thing. And I'm wondering if that's because these teams are weary of letting anyone else join. Maybe it gets more complicated the more people join. I mean, that is true. You don't want to repeat World War I, although we are playing the World War simulator. And I did just say there's going to be a WW3. So Germany just completely annexed Switzerland. I know that Sweden and Ukraine have applied for membership to join NATO, but I don't think that's going to happen in this universe. We have everyone going after Greenland, all the NATO countries, which is interesting. So Greenland's actually surrounded for the first time. Usually this nation does pretty good in this game. The Canadians making their move from their Canadian islands. Also Norway helping out a lot here with this area. Oh, of course they're attacking Belarus. Belarus wanted to be in BRICS, and because they didn't join, that they paid for it. Still, the Balkans have not been cleaned out just yet. Bosnia. Ooh, Bosnia is actually getting rid of some of the NATO members. We've actually lost several NATO members, interestingly. Again, just to repeat, you're not allowed to leave your alliance. Maybe that's another reason why the AI is being very careful. Look at the Bahamas actually take over Florida. And there goes Puerto Rico. The Dominican Republic just got that. BRICS finally doing something as they took over, or they're going after Mongolia. They actually took over North Korea because those two had formed a team. And there goes Mongolia. So the BRICS alliance is somewhat moving too. They probably just got bigger than anything NATO just took. NATO's actually not growing that much in size. They're barely taking like just small blocks. Oh, look at, and Bosnia is still going. Look at this pretty big blob that Bosnia's got. They only barely took territory from Greenland. So yeah, BRICS is the one that needs to catch up, I think. Actually, maybe not. I think in terms of land area, BRICS has way more. They have less members, but who cares if you have less members? And do they have less members? Because a lot of NATO members have been killed. As Colombia is getting wombo comboed by Panama and Venezuela, I think it's safe to say that yeah, the two big alliances. Ooh, look at U.S. sending help to Germany. This is kind of weird. So they did take out Sweden. So Sweden, it was like kind of in this little NATO lake thing. They were surrounded by NATO. They're now not here anymore. The two non-NATO members in Europe are fighting. That doesn't seem like a good idea, but all right. NATO's got a lot of catching up to do. Ooh, China just took over Taiwan. I really can't even keep up with these alliances at this point. So Ukraine has formed their own team between Ukraine and Moldova. Good luck with that. Meanwhile, Iran is leading the charge for BRICS to solidify and take over Central Asia. Now, I'm sure they're going to send a lot of money to Iran to help win this because they're the only ones on the front lines. The Himalayan mountains are kind of blocking China here. It's gonna be so funny if like a random third faction kind of forms and they end up winning somehow. It is so possible. We now have India attacking Bangladesh. I just realized, yeah, like this is looking so much better for BRICS. Something crazy needs to happen. I mean, luckily North America has, well, they have both the US and Canada. This is what's gonna have to happen. The US has to take over Mexico and they have to start just dominating in the US because just the combination of these three, Russia, China, and India, that's so much. They've got so much power. I mean, again, the European NATO members are having trouble against Bosnia and Austria at this point. If one team just rolls over the other team, it will be interesting to see, like, as the alliance has to break down because we have to go until there's only one left. So I'm interested. I mean, if NATO wins, I think it's safe to say that either the US or Canada will probably come out on top as the final member once the alliance breaks down. Here's the first big test for NATO. Okay, Ukraine was the one that actually had to take out Bosnia. Now Ukraine is moving in after Poland. They just took out Lithuania. Actually, the Baltics are doing really bad. I really feel like the only people that are going to be left. Oh, are we fighting Greenland again? Yes, we are. The only people that are going to survive like out of NATO is going to be the US and Canada. France has already been kicked out of South America. Is this the UK? Yeah, the UK. I guess something happened to Norway, so the Nordics have been struggling. India continues to grow as they took out Nepal. It's funny because the US is in more military alliances than just NATO. Obviously, they're friends with Australia and New Zealand, but, you know, just for this case, I didn't include them. They kind of needed them, though. Maybe they needed, I mean, they're not technically in NATO, but with the US's friends, this would have been interesting. The US can still win. It's just, I don't know. Oh, well, maybe something's going to happen here because Yemen is pushing way into the UAE. Iran is still struggling to take out Afghanistan and Turkmenistan. Obviously, the US is also friendly with South Korea and Japan, but the US is having trouble against Mexico. I think that's Germany helping the US fight Mexico. Mexico's been struggling against Guatemala, though. You need to invite Guatemala into NATO. Never thought I'd say that. Argentina lost some stuff to Peru. Brazil was fighting Guyana. Again, the three NATO members, Canada, Iceland, and Finland, cannot take out Greenland. Ooh, Pakistan might just eliminate. Okay, the first BRICS member just got eliminated, and it was Iran. Pakistan actually took the Indian capital, believe it or not. Pakistan to join NATO. Oh, look at this alliance. Oh, that's a strong team. Look at Central Asia try to fight back against BRICS. That's probably why they're doing so well. Right now, it's just Pakistan versus India, but this would be really bad if the other members join. If everyone joins, I think this is bad for Central Asia. The NATO member Turkey now pushing in and trying to go after Azerbaijan. A lot of funds are being thrown around the world. Pakistan's struggling economically here. Iraq is only allied to a couple of Middle Eastern members, but they're very close to the Saudi Arabian capital. And as Yemen continues to do well at the bottom part of the peninsula, this is getting interesting. Azerbaijan was just eliminated. Pakistan is going to survive for a little bit longer. There's also a pretty interesting alliance growing out of South Africa too, although South Africa joined, oh, that's right, they're in BRICS. Ooh, Ukraine now going after Russia with just their little small team. Ukraine is actually very close to Moscow. They might take Moscow. They have surrounded Moscow and they have taken the capital technically. That would be a huge loss for this alliance if Russia collapses. I don't think they're going to though. What the heck? Indonesia took over the Philippines, getting the everlasting war in the north. Italy, a NATO member, is actually moving down towards North Africa. I mean, they're trying to expand. It's funny, the only people that are actually moving NATO territory is Turkey, Spain with Morocco. Oh, did the Western Sahara just join NATO? I think they did. That is a first new member I've seen. Like willfully. I think they joined willfully. I don't really know. Meanwhile, BRICS has not added to any of their teammates. Wait, maybe, what is this? Oh, somehow India has this area. Okay. Oh, Taiwan has actually rebelled against China and it was successful. That has got to be due to some American funding. invading. That's the only explanation. Again, the US still kind of struggling against Mexico, but Honduras has kind of come up out of Central America as maybe the top dog here. China's now moving in. They just destroyed South Korea. Japan got a little bit of the peninsula, and now Taiwan. And why are you doing that? They were moving in after Cambodia. Ooh, the BRICS members in Africa are slightly growing, but wow, Ethiopia is in a really tough spot. We now have NATO fighting Moldova, who was the only team left after Ukraine. Okay, so Russia's definitely going to survive, obviously. They actually moved their capital to a really safe location, a lot safer than Moscow before. Oh, Argentina becomes the next BRICS member to be eliminated. There's been plenty of NATO members that have been eliminated, but only I think 2 out of BRICS. There goes Uganda, who is really large, and they're taking, well, they were fighting all these 3 by themselves, but it's not looking good anymore. And here it is. Okay, so we finally have a war between NATO and BRICS, but it's interesting because China and India are not helping out yet. This is going to be huge. This is going to be really interesting. How much does Russia lose here? Or do they lose anything at all? The front lines have now stopped moving. Russia's obviously being economically supported. Okay, the peace deal has happened, so Russia barely lost anything, to be honest. I think that was the first big war, though. Indonesia is going to be kind of a problem for BRICS if they keep growing like this. Or maybe not, because China just exploded through Japan, Cambodia, and Taiwan all at the same time. But, okay, so China's fighting. They just pieced out with their Eastern Asian. Okay, now here goes Kazakhstan. All right, BRICS is now BRICS is a big problem. I mean, just eyeballing this team, it does still look like BRICS is arguably more powerful, but you know, there's a lot of red here that is kind of confusing me. A lot of these nations are not in BRICS in Africa. Oh, so now they're just going to fight the whole Central Asian team, I guess. Now they're going after Uzbekistan. NATO lost territory in Finland. Now Turkey, oh boy, Turkey's getting wombo comboed by Egypt and Russia, and they're fighting this all by themselves. This is going to be funny because South Africa just needs to survive. It looks like BRICS is doing pretty good. If BRICS takes over the world, they just need to survive and wait for all their other homies to take over the world for them to stay alive, but they're surrounded by a lot of enemies. Ooh, Iraq finally took out Saudi Arabia, so BRICS did lose another member, but it doesn't really matter. As long as the core 3, India, China, and Russia are doing good, I mean, the team's gonna continue to dominate. I mean, every little bit helps. I also can't forget about Brazil. Brazil's a huge player. They just kind of have to do it all by themselves. Oh, there's a big Latin American team to try to counteract Brazil. Weirdly, the US and Brazil are probably working together accidentally to take out this team that's formed in Latin America. Taiwan is, what is happening? What is going, who buffed, I just have to say it. How? I don't even know what to say. Okay, Taiwan took out arguably the second strongest member of BRICS right now. Taiwan is, oh, they're friends with Indonesia. That's interesting. This has definitely leveled the playing field. I do not know if either one of these alliances are going to win the overall game. Actually, Greenland just started annexing a bunch of places. And, oh my gosh, okay, they're all just falling under. NATO's realizing they need to consolidate their power. So France just ate up Spain. I think they annexed Spain, Italy. Canada's starting to annex some things. US is not getting much. They are making progress slightly against Mexico, though. Taiwan is now, this is what I thought. Taiwan is now fighting Russia. India's probably going to take out Uzbekistan, I think. There goes Mexico. Finally, maybe now the US can deal with the Bahamas, but then they're going to have to deal with Brazil here soon enough. Look at Australia go, as they have all of New Zealand and Papua New Guinea. Indonesia has lost a lot of power on the other hand. Oh, and then right as I say that, Taiwan actually united with Indonesia. Oh my goodness. Oh, is this going to be the fall of Brazil? Somehow Guyana is just putting the team on their back. Turkey's definitely struggling. Russia is not making as much progress as I thought they would right now, which is good for NATO. Oh, and there's another NATO BRICS war, which is not even BRICS. I need to stop calling them that. It's BIEB. I don't know what the acronym would be for that, but didn't think that Egypt would be one of the last surviving members. I especially didn't think that China would get taken out. Everyone's integrating. Now Iraq has kind of an Iraqi empire. I kind of like this. They even stretch beyond the Himalayas. And there goes Brazil. Wow. Brazil is scary. But they will be fighting up against... Oh, here it is. Okay, so the U.S. is going to be fighting Brazil. It's not much territory to work with. It's going to be interesting. They're going to have to take out the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean. Ooh, there goes Egypt. So that's a big member lost. Taken out by Somalia. So there are basically, I think it's 4 major teams. There's a divide in Africa, but there's this purple alliance that's pretty strong. That's because it's Australia that controls everything. Australia, I think, united with Taiwan. It's pretty much just Australia by themselves. We have a very big Cameroon in Africa. There's pretty much a battle for like the third place team, which they might not end up in third place, but between like red and purple here, the wars are actually pretty insane. I do not know how France got like northern New Zealand and Papua New Guinea. The US kind of started breaking through Brazil. Also, they got rid of this Caribbean nation, so there's actually 2 fronts these 2 nations are fighting in. France united with Canada, so there's really only 2 members of NATO left. Meanwhile, there's only 3 3 of BRICS. It's Russia, India, and Brazil. Ooh, the Australians just got a huge pickup because they annexed their, whoever was in South Africa for them. This team also picked up a new color. The thing is, Canada and the US both have a lot of money. That doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna win, but they have a lot of money. But so does Russia. They actually have more than both of those countries. Oh, India does not have very much money. I almost said company. It's kind of the same, I guess. And there's now only 3 teams remaining: BRICS, NATO, and then this like Australian team that's pretty much just Australia and Somalia. You gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta find a way to make friends somehow. And then Australia just actually annexed Somalia. So Australia is single-handedly leading the non-aligned movement. This is kind of funny. I wonder if they're gonna pick a side. Do they pick a side at this point? Yes, they do. They pick NATO. This is too perfect. Australia has decided to join NATO. The US and Canada pretty much just at this point, which completely makes this a pretty even battle, I think. Well, the problem is India. India is definitely going to collapse for BRICS. Statistically, Russia is #1. Australia joining NATO was huge because that gives them now the 3rd place and the 2nd place. I think in terms of area, it doesn't really matter because there's 3 separate teams, but NATO's winning in terms of surface area, but the gold is all behind the US. This is actually a bigger thing to watch out for because once you run out of money, okay, so obviously Turkey's going to die. And there goes Russia. They have run out of money. It is going to be a NATO world. Well, actually, there's going to be one person they still have to take out. Brazil is also pretty much out of money. Oh, crap. Canada just annexed the US. I didn't even see that. Well, we're now going to have a NATO battle between the final 2 members. Technically, Canada's the only original member, but love to see Australia here. I mean, Australia really tipped the balance of power. If it wasn't for Australia, BRICS definitely would have won. It's just funny that I made that comment that Australia technically would be cool with the US, and they end up listening. Okay, who's going to run out of money first? Because Canada's got $2,000. Oh my goodness, Australia has more. That doesn't mean everything. Yes, it does, because Canada ran out of money. Well, there you go. The winner between BRICS and NATO is Australia, the Aussies. That makes sense. We're all living in the land down under now. Big thanks to my patrons. Destiny, 9,000. Drew needs to pay his taxes. Why am I doing this? John, Denver, Jack Travens, Annoying Friends, Inquisitor, Caleb, Australia is real. I am not a paid actor. Number 561, Patrick Dye, subscribe to the Mexican 716. Become a patron by checking the description down below.